This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, it's now 6:30 and I'll call this town council meeting to order. The first thing will be the invocation by Mary Teasley from the Surf Path United Methodist.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we ask your blessing upon the people who have been called to lead our community. Grant them and us the wisdom and courage to know and to do what is good and right and true. May they always be guided by the spirit of community and the spirit of love. Watch over us tonight. May all that we say and do bring you honor and glory. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we get into the agenda, for those people that are coming, we did have on the agenda the item about the water park, which was scheduled to be on the January 10th agenda, but that has been removed from the agenda. So anybody that's here about the water park, just to give you a heads up that it is not on the agenda tonight. Okay. Next thing, there is no public hearing tonight, and the next thing I'll entertain is motions relating to the agenda. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, oh, never mind, I was gonna go to the other one. Go ahead, I'm ahead of you.
Okay, the next thing is the minutes approval, and these are the minutes approval for November 22nd, the regular meeting, November 29th, the special meeting, and December 1st, the special meeting.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to postpone the November 22nd approval. There were some comments made that are not in and I'd like to add it in before we approve it. As far as the November 28th meeting and the special meeting December 1st, I move that we adopt those.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and do this? Why don't we do, since we have a motion to accept the regular meeting and the November 29th and the December 1st, let's go ahead and vote on those first on passing them. And then we'll have a discussion about the November 22nd. Second. So on that, and this is for the approval of November 22nd. November 29th and December 1st. Mr. Stanley.
Yes.
Holder.
Yes.
Keating.
Yes.
Cracklow.
Yes.
Kinkin.
Yes.
Drake.
Yes.
And myself is yes. So those two have passed. Now we'll go into discussion on the November 22nd. Does anybody have anything to say on that?
Well, there was a couple items in there that made it into the minutes. The comments I had did not make it in, and I know it's not the official, the verbal is official, but when you go to look up something, you go to the verbal or to the written, and it's just so much, it's one of those things I'd like to have in there.
Can you share with us what that comment
Well,
was?
there was a long comment made by Mrs. Keating. Then Mr. Stanley had a comment, and then I had a comment. Those two are in, mine's not. And I just feel like that in all fairness, all three of them should be in there.
Okay. Administrator Clement, can you work that out with the town clerk and we're going to vote on that later?
Yes, sir. So I just want to make sure that I'm clear. So it's November the 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sherry and I will work on it, sir.
Okay. Moving right along, the next thing is public comments, and these are the public comments relating to the agenda. Good evening.
Hi, Lynn Livesey, 10th Avenue South, Surfside. It's not anything really huge, I don't think, but it has to do with the article that's being brought in the business section tonight. It's section 17-406 about building height, roof pitch, limit changes, and building height definitions. And I was reading along and saying, oh, all right, that sounds good, that sounds good. But this also pertains to council, which I'm pleased is making your all's job, a little stiffer. You have to have a 2/3 vote of a full council, not just a quorum on. But my question is this particular part of your voting going to pertain to all the ordinances, or is it just applying? Because this is specifically written like it's going to be just voting on whenever you have a building height, roof pitch, or limited change in building height information. Is this going to be a full administrative thing in every case that you bring forward? And you all want to vote on it either to not do it or throw it back to planning, or is this going to be just only pertaining to heights? Possibly when Ms. Sabrina gets up here and explains it or reads it to you, I think if you glance at that, 17-406, it's not just pertaining to the heights. It's pertaining to how you all vote and whether you can pass it or fail it. I just want to know if that portion applies to everything that you do. You would have a 2/3 vote on a full council. Does anybody want to ask me if I said that correctly? Do you all understand what I'm asking? Okay, all right, I got one. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? Okay, moving right along, there's nothing in the communications, nothing in discussion. We'll start with the business committee, and we'll start out with the parking recommendations. Councilman Kington.
All right, there's 3 things that we need to do tonight. 2 have been presented by the parking committee, and 1 is a request from Pivot Parking, who is here, and when we get to that, I'm going to ask them to join us to help explain equipment or equipment less. The first thing the committee has asked is a question came up about raising the fees for parking, especially along the beach. The committee has recommended that we stay at $2 per hour this year. And the reason being is what you'll see is happen early in the morning, the spaces across the road fill up before the parking pay to park. And the fear is that all we're going to do is just push more people back into R3, looking for anywhere they can stop their car that's legal. And we would rather, they're used to paying $2. And keep in mind, parking is for control. It's not necessarily just to raise money. We do raise money with it, and it has a purpose. It goes in a pot to buy property at some point. But the real purpose of it is to have control where people park. And we don't want them parking in the neighborhoods. We want them parking in our paid parking areas. So that's why the committee made this recommendation. I'll read the second one and then I'll make a motion. We have, in the past, we have allowed up to 100 non-residents, non-resident and non-owners to purchase passes at $200 a piece. This year, they're recommending, last year was the first year we ever sold out. I think the year before we only sold about 65 or 70. Diana's not here to verify that, but we did not sell out. Last year we sold out, and so they've recommended that we add another 50, again at $200 a piece. And this is for people that live across the highway on the other side of 17, that they can buy a year-round pass to come park or registration to come park here in Surfside. So the first motion I want to make is that and this does not include the pier. The pier is totally separate. The money from the pier goes a different place. This is for our regular parking, whether it be crossovers, the parking lots, et cetera. That we maintain $2 per hour or $10 all day parking in our pay to park parking lots, not including the pier. And that's my motion.
And you want to do the, okay,
We'll do them one at a time.
that's fine. Let's have a discussion on that. Or do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay. And discussion on this?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. It has never been proposed to council to raise the parking fees for the 2023 season. It was a line item or a possibility, something to consider that Pivot Parking had put forward in their proposal process, saying that other communities have higher parking rates than we currently have, and it may be something we want to consider in the future, but we've never entertained it. We've never even considered raising the parking fees. So at this point, this motion is asking us to approve to do nothing. So it's really not appropriate or necessary to have a motion to retain the status quo of parking fees, because until we actually make a motion to change them, there's nothing for us to be voting on. So I don't think this motion is necessary and should be repealed.
Mr. Mayor,
Good point.
when Pivot was here last time, they did recommend us increasing the parking fees
That's correct.
based on the fact that other areas, how much higher it is. And then I could see us raising it on the beach side and the parking areas along the ocean. And probably the Yopon parking lot, in my personal opinion, at least $1. But the others, I would say keep them where they are.
Well, it has not come before council at all for us to raise it. And if
Well, it came from Pivot asking about the fact that.
if it comes to us, we know how the parking committee feels on it.
Right.
So, I mean, we would have to take a separate vote on something that somebody's asking us to do, not take a vote on something that nobody's asked us to do.
So you want me to withdraw it?
If that's.
I will withdraw the motion.
But here again, the parking will not change, the fee on the parking will not change without it coming before council for a vote.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, the second thing that they asked us to look at was non-resident parking permits. We've, in the past, well, since I've been here, they've been allowed 100, up to 100 permits at $200 each. Last year, we sold them out for the first time. And so the parking committee is recommending that we keep the $200 apiece, but we raise the quantity to 150. So that is my motion, that we increase the number of parking permits allowed for non-owners to 150 permits at $200 each.
I'll second it. Okay. Anybody have any discussion on that?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I personally thought that we looked into this parking deal for the residents not to increase more parking, giving away more parking or selling more parking. I thought that's what our parking committee was doing to start with. I thought they were locating spots to park. If we add 100 or add 50 more parking, that just means 50 more people that's going to be in town that may not have a parking. So I don't see that we need to add any. I personally think it should stay at 100. That's my opinion of it. I don't, that's what we had the parking committee for to start with, is try to create parking spots, not sell more of them.
Mr. Holder, do you have anything on that, to add on that?
Well, I think we should add to 150, because we have a lot of requests last year. And I think that, and it is growing across the street, a lot more people as time goes on. We're going to deal with in the future, so.
Ms. Keating?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I think originally we had, and I don't recall the numbers specifically, but over 300 parking spaces. And for that, we sold up to 100 decals to non-residents. We've now added probably 25% or more parking spaces by requiring pay to park or parking decals for all of the beach accesses, for the golf cart parking in the Yopon parking lot, et cetera. So I think it's appropriate that we also increase the availability of parking decals to our surrounding neighborhoods that also support our town. So I don't have a problem increasing it to 150. I think that's more than appropriate.
Correct.
I don't have anything. Yeah, we added over 300 parking spaces. When you add in the beach accesses, Surfside Drive, First Avenue South, and Surfside Drive too. Seaside Drive and Surfside Drive. We added over 300 parking places. And going around last year, especially on the beach accesses, there may be only 5 or 6 golf carts there at any one time. The year before, there'd be times that you couldn't park there. So we feel like that, or I personally feel like that we'll get more golf carts come back this year because it's so much more convenient than driving a car down here and parking. So again, it's control. And I would like to see it increase to 150.
Mr. Drake?
I don't have a problem with the 150. It's, the actual thing is the revenue plus control, but, I'm fine with that.
My only question is, does anybody talk to the finance director to find out the implications of giving 50 more parking passes out and the thing? Right now, we have it so that there is no limit to the number of stickers that a resident can get. The resident, for every vehicle they have, can have a sticker, and there's some people have 7 or 8 stickers. And we've always talked about maybe eliminating the number of stickers per household, because they're not gonna take 7 or 8 cars down at the beach at the same time or whatever. So that's something that we need to discuss in the future, but I just didn't know whether there was a financial ramification on.
Mr. Mayor,
Plus, we have the stickers.
we're not using stickers except on golf carts. We're going to use,
All right.
Pivot wants to use tag readers. And so our automobiles will not have to have stickers. Only the golf carts will have to have stickers. And so last year it was about 1,800 golf carts registered, according to what they told me earlier. It actually makes it easier because you can register. Hopefully we'll get it set up. We're trying to get it set up so you can register your cars online. You don't even have to go to town hall. You can do it online. You can fill out the paperwork for your golf cart and carry it down, and it's already filled out, and you just get the sticker. By not having stickers, we don't have to worry about people getting eight stickers and giving 2 of them away, because it only applies to the vehicle you have registered.
Right.
So, and by having cars using tag readers, it makes it quicker for them and easier for everybody involved. And I should have explained that, because that is a huge change when we switched to Pivot.
Mr. Mayor, on what Bill was saying is, that's providing that these people who are buying these extra 50 passes are for golf carts. I mean, we've created spots for golf carts, but we really ain't created a lot of parking spots that wasn't already in town. We ain't creating them more. And we had a problem with parking before, and why can't these 50 people pay the hourly rate that everybody else has to pay instead of giving more parking and guaranteeing them, or not guaranteeing them, but automatically saying, here, you come on up and park anywhere you want to. I mean, it's just me. That was just my concern. I thought that was what the design of the parking committee was, is to take care of some of the parking problems that our town residents had. And this seems to be adding to the problem back again, to get more people to park up here. Let them park and pay just at regular hours if they want to come and park.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, we do have some representatives from Pivot here. If you'd like to have them maybe explain some of the logistics of that. I did have a conversation with Diane, and as far as the logistics, Pivot's going to be taking care of all that and handing out the decals in the logistics of the registration and all that. That's going to be handled by them, which I think council knows from hiring them as our contractor. But one of the things Pivot is going to do is they're going to evaluate that extra 50 registrations, stickers on a yearly basis, and they'll report that back to see what the impact is that Mr. Stamey's mentioning on our community members in having a place to park. Understanding we've added more parking spaces, but that is something that they'll look at every year as far as usage and the impact that will have.
Well, if they're here tonight and they've heard our conversation, would they like to come up and speak?
I think they're prepared to do that if you'd like to come up.
Sure.
Jared and Tina and Aaron are here, so if they'd like to come up and speak to it, yes, sir.
Thank you, Jared.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys, Mayor and Council, for having us. For Councilman Stamey's point, I think if you do end up giving another 50 out, those people that would get those 50 stickers are more than likely coming over to park anyway. So those spaces are going to be taken, whether for residents or for transients or what have you. So the impact of the 50 stickers, I don't think it's going to be that impactful against your residents, because more than likely those people that do get the stickers are going to come across and they're going to be here anyway. So they're not going to be taking spaces from residents.
Well, they do pay $200 for the extra decals as well.
Right. And if you guys,
It's not free.
right. And if you guys want, we can get you, how long would those people have to come? How many times a year they have to come for those to earn that $200, or, for us to say that it was worth it for them or it was worth it for the town, And I know the finance is not a big part for you guys. It's more about the control. But if that is a request, we can do that as well.
So let me ask you this question. If I came in, let's say that I lived in Deerfield, and I came in and wanted to buy a sticker for $200, right? I have to tell you what vehicle that's gonna go on, right, in order for you to do the car cleaner.
That's correct.
So I can't get a sticker based on the registration and then put it on anything that I have.
That's correct.
So if I get it for a golf cart, it has to go on a golf cart.
That's
I
correct.
can't bring my car and park it in the Yopon parking lot after 7 o'clock at night, or before 7 o'clock at night.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. That was one of my questions. Does anybody else have any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I have somewhat of a unrelated, it's related, but not. When you talked to us earlier, somebody from Pivot, I don't remember who, it was mentioned that we would probably get plates for the golf carts even, so that they even wouldn't have stickers. Is that still maybe going to happen, just not this year?
Yes, that could happen. It won't happen this year, but we will come back to you guys at the end of this season and present that as an option. It certainly is an option for that, yes.
And in
That
the
way
interim, you're gonna be reading the state sticker, right?
No, sir, the golf carts are going to get physical decals this year. Any golf cart that wants a decal or that wants to park for free will get a physical decal. And those will be the only ones that get that. All vehicles will have the tags entered into the system to be read by the,
Mr. Mayor.
But the golf cart will be, excuse me, the golf cart will be registered by that state sticker.
it will be
That's how-
registered by the state sticker.
But that's not what they're going by. They're going by our.
Yes. So we will have to get out or look for the decal as we would traditionally, for just for the golf carts for this year.
Do we have the stickers? Because I thought we didn't order stickers.
We've ordered them.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, the golf carts, as far as the low-speed vehicles, they're going by the tag on the back of the golf cart.
The low
correct?
speed vehicles will be used by the tag, yes.
Okay.
Does anybody have any other questions of Pivot? I appreciate you coming up.
Well, don't go anywhere. Those two recommendations were from the parking committee. We have a third recommendation. Maybe we got to vote on that and then
I think we should
vote on this one and then we'll talk about the third one.
Don't go away. All right, well, let's go ahead and take a vote on this, and it's, do you want to give us the motion one more time?
The motion was to increase the amount of non-resident parking, I got decals, but that's not it, registration, 50% from 100 to 150 registrations at $200 per registration.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Staney?
No.
Holder?
Yes.
Keating?
Yes,
Cracklaw?
Yes.
Kinkin?
Yes.
Drake?
Yes.
And I'm yes too, so that passed. So let's go on to.
All right,
discussion
number
of-
3 was,
well, but Mr. Mayor, point of order. That there was nothing else in our packets or on the agenda to be
Yeah.
discussed other than those two items. So I don't know, I'll defer to Sherry, but can we even talk about a new item?
No, I didn't want to interrupt,
Oh,
but yes,
Please do.
I don't see anything on here either
yeah, you can.
for the third.
Bring it back next week. Thanks.
It could be on the next agenda.
It'll be on the next agenda, we'll see you then.
Mr. Mayor, could he not refer back to the proposal of number 1 and ask the question of what Pivot has suggested for the parking prices? Because I'm assuming that is the question he has, and it is on the agenda, but we just earlier put it aside because it was already adopted. So if he's asking a question about what Pivot has told us in previous times, why couldn't he go back and refer to that first?
Because he made a distinct motion for that recommendation.
Say that louder, Sharon.
Because he made a motion for that recommendation.
That item's closed.
So the item's closed, yes.
Mr. Mayor, I sent everybody a email because this came up after you'd already set the agenda. It asked the specific information. It did not go through the parking committee, doesn't need to go through the parking committee, but they need to know about equipment. And I sent everybody an email warning them that this was going to be discussed. And I wish they had come back and said you can't discuss it. But I don't know what else to do because at that point, when that meeting was held, you'd already set the agenda. Yet it needs to be decided. So they know what to do.
Well, we can't violate the Freedom of Information Act
Okay.
based on an email sent to council.
Well, we still have time to get it on the agenda. I mean, to get it on next
Okay.
agenda.
Yeah, it's just 2 weeks away.
Okay.
Is that okay? Can you wait 2 weeks?
They don't have a choice.
Can I address council?
That,
At the end for public
right,
comments.
that is going to cut the timeline close, but that's a conversation that we're just gonna have within the next 2 weeks.
Well, you can have the conversation and then schedule a
And then
special
so-
meeting.
We could do that, yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
yeah.
So, I'll have a conversation with Pivot and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, not going off on some people on this council, but why is some people on this council making decisions that our administrator, our town clerk should be making instead of speaking up and speaking for
Mr. Mayor, point of order.
I will concede to that, yes. Moving right along, we're gonna go to resolution 23-156, the handbook, the employee handbook. That's by the town administrator.
You skip Kenny.
Administrator Kenny first. All right, next one will be the memorandum of understanding with the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Homeland Security Investigations by Chief Howell. Sorry, Kenny.
That's okay, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Happy New Year, everyone, Mr. Mayor, council, and citizens. I have brought to you tonight a request to approve a memorandum of understanding that we would like to enter into with the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Homeland Security Investigations. They have approached us and asked us to participate in some investigations that they have going on locally. Some of these investigations would revolve around assisting with the Human Trafficking Task Force. Hopefully we can all agree that that's a very important thing that we need to be helping with. Our relationships with our federal partners are very important, and this would allow us to have one of our investigators to participate in investigations related to that. Also, the second part of that is we would like to allow our K-9 unit officer and Officer Pinto and SIF to be able to participate in some drug trafficking investigations that are going on here locally. And while these investigations may or may not take place within the town limits of Surfside Beach, certainly the trafficking of illegal drugs does impact our community. So just a couple of facts here for the sake of the citizens that are here. I'm sure that you've all read it, but the police department enters into numerous agreements throughout the year known as memorandums of understanding or memorandums of agreement with other law enforcement agencies. These are done to assist other agencies or all agencies in their efforts to protect the public when additional resources are needed. South Carolina law requires that memorandums of understanding agreements be presented to and approved by local governing bodies. The police department desires to enter into this agreement to assist in various investigations such as those involving human trafficking and the trafficking of illegal drugs that endanger our citizens. Excuse me. This agreement would not involve the enforcement of violations of immigration law. Under this agreement, certain sworn personnel of the Surfside Beach Police Department will receive training to be designated as customs officers to assist in investigations led by the Homeland Security Investigations Office. Surfside Beach Police personnel who assist HSI will generally do so outside of their normal scheduled hours and will continue in their current assigned positions. What I mean by that is these are not going to be detachments. Our officers are not going to be, working in Washington, D.C. or something. They're still going to be officers here. But when called upon, all agencies come together with our federal and state partners to make sure that they have the resources they need. Surfside Beach Police Department will be reimbursed for the cost of officers' overtime rates while assisting Homeland Security in any investigations not occurring in the town of Surfside Beach. So my recommendation and request to council is to approve this memorandum of understanding as presented and allow me to sign it, or the administrator can sign it, to enter into this memorandum of understanding. Can I answer any questions, Mr. Mayor?
Anybody have any questions?
Mr. Mayor, not really a question, but maybe something you want to discuss for the benefit of our audience. While this is performed basically on an overtime basis of our officers, there is also a mechanism in the memorandum of understanding where we are reimbursed for the cost of those services to the town, correct?
Absolutely. Anytime our officers are involved in any investigations assisting Homeland Security, we will submit those hours to Homeland Security and they will reimburse the town for the overtime rate of the officers. This is also part of the federal equitable sharing program. So if there are seizures that are eligible under equitable sharing, the town would benefit from that as well.
Yeah, from what I read, that's capped at $15,000 a year per officer, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Kenny, for this training or for these things, would it cost the town any money for this?
No.
No money whatsoever for training?
We will note that actually Homeland Security will provide all training needed for the officers and there is some training involved. All costs, training, travel, anything that impacts the town will be reimbursed.
Do I have a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we authorize execution of the memorandum of understanding between the town of Surfside Beach and the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement and Homeland Security Investigations.
I second
Okay, is there any discussion before we vote on it? Mr. Stanley?
Yes.
Holder?
it. Yes.
Keating?
Yes.
Cracklaw?
Yes.
Kinkin?
Yes.
Drake?
Yes.
And myself is yes. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, could I have some latitude just for 1 minute to make a comment to the citizens and also to the council? When you came in tonight, you may have seen the military vehicle parked outside out there. I wanted to get it out here so you guys can see it. And I promised you I would keep you informed of acquisitions or requisitions that we make through the 1033 military surplus program. So I'm happy to let everyone know that we have acquired what's called a high water vehicle through the surplus program. This vehicle was originally priced through the federal government $184,000, and we received it free. It is in good mechanical order. It did need a tune-up when it got here, but I was able to get the equipment to do the tune-up as well through the program. So we have a fully functional piece of equipment, and I think it's important. During Hurricane Ian, we had some unusual flood water that came in quite quickly, and we had people trapped in some of that water waist deep that we could not get to because we were trying to get our pickup truck down to them. That truck probably has a much shorter lifespan now because it was in salt water up to the frame. That's as far as we could get it. To my knowledge, we're the only jurisdiction or one of the few jurisdictions on the Grand Strand that does not have one of these vehicles. And we made a request during the storm, Chief Clemens and I, to try to get some assistance to get one of those vehicles down to us, and there weren't any available. They were all in Garden City because they had it a little worse than we did. But while they were willing to help, we found at that moment that we needed a piece of equipment that we didn't have to save lives in this town. And I'm not okay with that, and I'm sure you're not either. So I'll be working very hard, excuse me, I'm getting over a cold, to make sure this equipment is available for our citizens in the event we have flooding in the future, to make sure that we never have that situation again where we can't get to someone to help them. So wanted to let you know about that. And if you have any questions, or I'll be around after the meeting if somebody wants to take a look at it. And certainly you'll see it in the next Christmas parade. I promise you that. Yes. But thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to go to resolution 23-156, which is the employee handbook.
Thank you, Mayor. And Kenny, I'm driving. The employee handbook was presented to council on October the 25th, and it was approved at that meeting. And this resolution number 23-156 just documents that approval and repeals the 8th edition of the personnel handbook and adopts the 9th edition.
Okay, is there any discussion on that?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
are you okay with it?
Yes, sir.
Handbook, okay.
Yes, sir.
I just need your approval.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Stamey?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we accept resolution 23-156, documenting previous council approval of October 25th, 2022.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Stamey?
Yes.
Holder?
Yes.
Keating?
Yes.
Cracklaw?
Yes.
Kinkin?
Yes.
Drake?
Yes.
And myself. So that has passed. Next thing is the first reading of ordinance 230952, an ordinance to amend chapter 17, article 4, supplement district regulations of the town's code of ordinances. Director Adair.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The Planning Commission, the Town Council instructed staff to review all of Chapter 17 and bring any changes or recommendations forward that the Planning Commission may see fit for the changes. The Planning Commission did review Chapter 17, Article 4, and was presented with suggestions, amendments to the code. Some of the recommendations are included in your issue paper. I'm going to go through those so the public are aware and hopefully to answer one of the citizens' questions earlier. They recommended adding section 17-406, the building heights, roof pitch limit changes, and building height definition. This section requires a 2/3 vote for a full council, not only a quorum of council, on height changes to the zoning ordinance. This only applies to the height, roof pitch, and building heights. It does not apply to any other votes that you may have. It would only apply to that section. Section 17-408, this amendment would allow. I'm sorry.
Just a second, if I can provide a bit of a clarification, make sure we're all understanding this correctly. This is if we choose to change the zoning ordinance such that we are changing the overall height limits, we need a 2/3 vote. This is not getting into approval or rejection of individual Board of Zoning Appeals or variances that may come into PB&Z as a matter of, projects and so forth, operational questions and variances. This is just if at some point in the future we choose to change the code and the restrictions, the limits themselves, it requires a supermajority vote.
That's correct. In any zoning district in the town, the Board of Zoning Appeals is obviously has to look at the state law to issue any variances. So that would not apply here. It would just be for the council, any changes for any zoning district, what height increases or changing the roof pitches. It would require a 2/3 vote of council. And then section 17-408, this amendment would allow for accessory uses in commercially zoned districts with the requirements that's listed. Currently, our ordinance is, and as stated by the former town attorney, if we don't have a use specifically listed in the zoning ordinance, it's not allowed. And currently, accessory uses are not allowed in the commercial district. To be more user-friendly and to know that the commercial district, obviously, there's businesses need accessory uses, that's been added. Section 17-408.3, it increases the allowed uses for the accessory structures. It's currently 20%. It's going to increase to 30%, but this will not change or affect the total impervious allowed for each lot. Section 17-414B3 requires that all merchandise being displayed, which is approved by the ordinance, has to be associated with the business and products sold on to the business. We have had complaints of businesses selling or advertising merchandise that they don't sell in their stores. For instance, if you have a retail store, you're not going to be able to sell a car in front of your store without an additional business license. Section 17-412B is going to remove the 10-foot setback from street or right of way and 5 feet setback from any rear or side yard property line. Requirement for merchandise clearly states the merchandise cannot encroach in the streets or right of ways. And to be a little more clear, currently our ordinance says in the C1 district, and a perfect example is golf cart sales and rentals. If you go down 17, all the golf carts are right on their property line and right outside of the right of way. When the ordinance currently says you can't just be off the right of way, you have to be 10 feet off the right of way, and you can't encroach in a parking space. That's a hardship on the businesses, and I can tell you from experience, it is unenforceable. We have tried. You can't really sell a golf cart if you tell them to get behind the parking space. So we're trying to correct that and say just stay off the right of way. That'll clarify that. 17-412C4, which is adds merchandise being temporarily displayed be associated with the business. Again, that has to do with the sale of cars or any other retail that's not sold through the home, through the business itself. And then after thorough review of the proposed amendments, a public hearing was held by the commission. New language was added, and you'll see it in your packets. They've highlighted the areas, and language were deleted, red strikes. The town attorney at the time had reviewed the documents and approved the added language to the ordinance, and planning commission recommends unanimously to approve the changes as submitted. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Anybody have any questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
does this affect any business or any town resident as of right now, for new rules that you're putting in here or deleting? Would it help or hurt any business?
It's certainly going to help the businesses because currently they're not allowed to have an accessory use.
Yeah.
And we've had several come in that want that and need that for storage area, and we have to turn them down. Or they put those pods there, which are temporary uses. So this would help them. It does not affect actually it improves the residential because they can go from 20% of their rear property line for accessory uses and increases it to 30%. So they can have larger accessory uses.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I see more and more containers in town. Are they allowed? At one time, they were not allowed.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not listed in the ordinance at all as being approved or not approved. So since it's not listed, it's not allowed. And this will help us address that. We're going to work with the business owners to tell them you can have an accessory building and this is what the steps you have to take. And you're going to have to eliminate those pods, which is the portable units.
I also see them in residential areas.
They're definitely not, they've never been allowed in residential areas, ever.
They're there.
We've actually had to get rid of 2 or 3 that we've had complaints on.
Okay.
Any other? So do I have a motion on this?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to accept ordinance number 23-0952 for first reading to amend chapter 17, article 4 as stipulated.
Second.
Any further discussion before we vote? Mr. Stanley?
Yes.
Holder?
Yes.
Keating?
Yes.
Cracklaw?
Yes.
Kinkin?
Yes.
Drake?
Yes.
And myself is yes too.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And now is for the public comments, and these are public comments pertaining to town services for business conduct.
Gary White, 315B Lakeside Drive. I read this before when we were talking about the wild water, and I understand that they withdrew that application. But the reason I want to read this again is because I am totally against certain things. Surfside Beach, I'm going to read it again, has a vision of the family beach for a reason, and all changes relating to any zoning should be directed towards that vision. Wild Water Wheels PD was part of that vision at one time. I am totally against, this is what the key is, I am totally against any mixed use at Surfside Beach, since that will set a dangerous precedent for the whole town. It wasn't long ago that we created an e-district, which was, among other things, put the mixed use to rest. I do not want mixed use in Surfside Beach. The Planning Commission and Council previously agreed when we were talking about this, that the best use of the land over there is commercial development. I agree with that. I do not believe that any of the rezoning applications now or in the future should be amended if related to this project or any other project that comes along. If they put in another application, I don't think it should be passed if it involves changing mixed use. And I just wanted to make that comment. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Gary. Are there any other public comments? Well, since we're going to have an executive session tonight, we're going to do the town council comments now. But before we start with the town council, I'm going to give the town administrator a chance to speak first and give his comments.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. And I do want to thank the community just very quickly, in embracing me and council giving me an opportunity to be the interim administrator for this great community that we live in. So, you know, as the fire chief, I've always tried to do my very best in protecting this community, and I really see this position no differently. Responsibilities may be different, but the work and the commitment is going to remain the same for the time period that I do this. So I just wanted to say that as I embark on something that I've never done before, but I am up for the challenge. I have an incredible staff. You just heard two of them that I get to work with all of the time as a department head, and a mayor and a council that really do have the best interest of this town at heart. So I just wanted to say that before I read something, and I do appreciate the mayor giving me just a minute. This is something that I received from Chief Hoffman. I think it's very relevant for today, really, as we go through some transition here in Surfside Beach, not only with the administrator position, but it is no secret that we have vacancies at quite a few positions that we're going to be working very hard to fill those positions because they're needed. But this just goes to show the type of people that you have working here. And this was addressed to Chief Hoffman, and it said, Chief, I just want to pass along a thank you for members of your department. And this came from a captain within Myrtle Beach who sent this to Chief Hoffman. And it goes on to say, a friend of mine was called last week because she and her husband were out of town and their son got into a wreck. She asked if I could go down there to check on her son and to see if he needed a ride. When I responded, I was met with Sergeant Kirby and Officer Sale with the Surfside Beach Police Department. From beginning to end, they were both highly professional, from scene security, being compassionate and empathetic to the new driver, and patiently waiting for the tow truck. These are the things that I can't help but notice and observe when I go to another agency or observe other officers in action. He goes on to say, I have to admit, even the fire department was excellent and went above and beyond. But in parentheses, he put, in Myrtle Beach, there's always a competitive, healthy rivalry between police and fire, but we both pride ourselves on working together, it seems, and Chief Hoffman and I are no different than that. And we do have a rivalry that is very friendly. The fire crew was outstanding. I believe it was A shift, Andrew, Ashley, Chris, and Josh. If I'm missing anyone, he said, forgive me. The ranking officer for the fire department was very patient, had his crew remain on the scene longer than most would have to ensure that the vehicle was properly towed and the light pole damage was cleaned up. I think that they were headed to get pizza prior to the incident, which they definitely weren't able to get because it was cold after the scene got cleared up, and he said, I owe him a pizza. While this incident is relatively minor in nature, I feel that I feel that all involved should be commended. While it may be a routine call for service, you never know who is watching, and that is so true, regardless of what department you work for here in this town. The hundreds and thousands of people who passed by on 17 business during this incident, I don't know if it was hundreds and thousands, but it was probably quite a few, this incident, and others always look to take note at police and fire. Unfortunately, the press does not report on these everyday activities from officers and other first responders who make the difference in great impressions on those that they come in contact with. At the end of the day, this email is not just about police and fire. It is about public works. It's about finance. It's about all the departments here in Surfside Beach. So I don't think we celebrate our successes enough. I think there's a lot of work that goes on, and there's a lot of differences of opinion, and which it should be, and a lot of discussion. But I think it was relevant just to kind of mention that, especially as we're going through some transition here. So I appreciate the opportunity, Mayor. Thank you, sir.
No problem. And now for comments. Let's start on the other end tonight. Mr. Drake.
I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in and coming out tonight. Really appreciate it. And Happy New Year to everybody. And I hope everybody keeps doing good. The police department does an excellent job, and the fire department is, we've just been told, do a great job. And I appreciate them a lot. And so does the public works. And just wish everybody a Happy New Year, and we'll see you in about 2 weeks.
I also want to wish everybody a Happy New Year, and And we do have a great town. We have great services. We have good people working here. And we don't thank them enough. I don't know that you can thank them enough. But anyway, we're very fortunate where we live, and we live here for that reason. Part of why we live here. Look forward to a good 2023. At long last, we'll have a pier at some point this summer, and looking forward to that and celebrating a new pier. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank all for coming out and the ones listening online. I'd like to mention that we did finally, as a council, pass the first reading to restrict the height limits and can't be changed without a 5-2 vote rather than a 4-3 vote, which helps, I believe, because now you need at least one more person in order to push the tide a different way. With that being said, I also would like to thank all the town employees, police, fire, public works, finance, planning and zoning. I think that's all of them. Maybe not, but if not. Yeah. Anyway, have a good night and see you the next time.
Yeah, as with everyone else, I thank everybody for coming out. I'm very encouraged that we're seeing, more and more people filling this room, so that's very encouraging. I appreciate most comments and feedback and questions on Facebook and emails and other social media. I do receive quite a few questions or comments and concerns via Facebook Messenger that never reach public knowledge. But I try to respond to all of them and direct them to the proper department heads to resolve whatever the issues or comments were. And as far as I know, we are at 100% success level of having those people satisfied with the responses, and not only the content of the responses, but also the timeliness of those responses. So for that, I want to thank our staff, especially in these times where we are shorthanded. And to that end as well, I want to make special thanks to Chief Clemens that, he volunteered for this. He had some arm twisting going on, but he was volunteered and he allowed it, and he has stepped into a big job. There's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of chaos as a result. We've got big projects going on. We've got day-to-day operations going on. We've got a lot of things to be addressed, and he is, from all reports and people whispering in my ear, it seems he's doing a fabulous job of it. So thank you very much, Chief. I appreciate that. Other than that, I think we do have some critical positions open. We need to address and get advertised the town administrator, to get a full-time administrator in here. We also have the position of the PIO and the events coordinator to fill. I understand that there's some discussion about what the content of that role should be. Should it be 2 different positions? We've got probably about 4 different positions in the town that are open. To one degree or another, we need to define what those roles are, which ones will be budgeted, which ones will, how we will serve the greater need of the town. So I think there's a lot of moving parts. Hopefully, a lot of this will start being resolved soon so that our department heads and our staff get the proper support, such that, we're not just constantly reacting to the latest email or the latest comment or the latest fire drill of some sort. Not literally fire drills, but you know what I mean. So with the right staffing and the right people in the right roles, doing with the right expectations, as I said at the town hall event I had a month or so ago at the Holiday Inn, we have 3 critical components that move this town forward. That is integrity, transparency, and accountability. If we can't move forward with integrity and holding everyone accountable and demand that excellence, we can't move forward. We have to demand the excellence such that we have something to strive for. Yes, we all make mistakes. Yes, we're all, not all going to do the right things right the first time. Sometimes we won't even do the right things the first time. But as long as we're demanding that excellence with the highest standard of integrity and accountability, we can all grow and learn and finally achieve that excellence for the town, its residents, and its other stakeholders. So with that, that's the vision I have for the town. Whether y'all agree, I don't know. But in my conversations with Chief Clements, I think that's a philosophy that he supports and embraces and will hopefully instill throughout our town and our operations. So have a good night, Happy New Year, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Mr. Holder.
I want to say Happy New Year to everybody here. I really feel that 23 will be a great year for us. We've got great things happening in the church side. We're going to finish up here in 23. And we've got many more things coming. I also want to thank our new interim administrator, Chief Clements, for taking the responsibility and the leadership of taking this down for the next few months. So thank you. I like to let the letter you read, and I do think it's great to hear the comments and that people, what they have to say about us. And our police and fire department and all our employees are so important to us, but they do a great job. I was amazed at how hard people work when we had the last hurricane. All the public works, everything did clean up. So thank you. Not only do we have for the hot water vehicle, I think it's great to see we got our major fire truck back. And we got 3 firemen here, and I like seeing it being driven now. And we had a fire truck that didn't have our name on it being used. So we have the truck back, and it's great to see in use. And so thank you. Have a great day.
Mr. Stanley.
Yes, I'd like to also wish everybody a Happy New Year and thanks for coming out. And I'd also like to say that we are moving forward. A lot of people don't think so. I get a lot of emails that don't think that we are, but we are. And as you noticed, our old town hall is demolished, it's gone. We're gonna sow grass up there and make it pretty for right now. And there's things that this council has done. We have done things. We might not get credit for some of it we do, but that's things we've done. We've hired somebody that I hope will lead this town in the right direction. And for the citizens, we appreciate hearing that all of you who did show up for the water park and stand up for what you believed in, that's what this town needs, is togetherness. And as long as we stick together as a town, as a good council, we're going to do good things in this town. It's the part of where we break apart and we don't do good things and look after what is the best interest of Surfside Beach. And saying that, I wish all of you a good night.
Well, here it is, a brand new year, and we've got a whole lot of stuff to do. I get this, I put out an update every Friday to tell everybody what's going on in the town, or what the events are, and, bring up any information. I get a hard time sometimes for leaving out certain things and not bringing up the big issues. And people say that, most everything that I write on the update is sort of fluffy and stuff like that. Well, it's my job to represent the town. It's my job to bring out the good things, not to bring out the bad things. Social media has done a good job of that for us. So, our council is going to actively work this year to work a lot better together and to get stuff done. And we've got a plan of action with our new interim town administrator, and we're going to be working on that. just an example, I put out on the update that the pier is due to be completed on April 16th. All right, that's the date that was given to us by the contractor. It can change at any time, but we at least have a firm date right now of April 16th. And of course, I put that out on my update on Friday, and on Friday afternoon, the press came out and told everybody that the pier would be open on April 16th. That's not the case. You know, from the time that the pier gets completed, we still have to do all the internal work to get the pier ready for, you know, the public to come on. So, you know, those are the little things that we run into, but I appreciate the town and everything that we've done just with our winter holiday and our Christmas parade and the golf cart parade, and blah, blah, blah. And if you've seen some of the videos that are on Facebook on it, talking about going to the pier committee and look at the videos and going to Keep Surfside Beautiful and look at that. You know, they are promoting our town and they are doing a good job. And there's a reason why everybody wants to live here, and we are special that we get to live here, where other people get to dream about coming here on vacation. So with that, I want to thank everybody, and this year is going to be a better year, I promise you. So with that, I need a motion to go into executive session.
And Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to convene an executive session in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act, Section 30-4-70A1, for discussion of certain employment and personnel matters, as well as in accordance with Section 30-4-7A2, for discussion of negotiations or other actions incident to proposed contractual arrangements through Collins Engineering, potential forensic audit, and the architect firm of Creech and Associates.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned, and we will reconvene after. And everybody is welcome to leave.
Do you know what